Hey guys,
hey.
Welcome back again. I want to make sure my mic is on. If you guys can hear us, please say something on chat. And then maybe we can start moving on into, let's see, sound working now, refresh page. There we go. Now we're talking. All right, so again, my name is Rywat01, Community Manager for World of Tanks console. Thank you so much for joining us. And I have with me, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I'm Brendan Blewett. I'm the audio director here at Wargaming Chicago.
Yay, so we have a special surprise. For about a week and a half, or since the release of the Mercenary line on update 4.5, there were a lot of questions from our players regarding the audio and the changes that were made. So we definitely gather all of your feedback just so that we can let you guys know about what went behind the scenes in the development and the design. So Brendan is here to answer your questions. And he also put a small video along with the help of Archie, our tech extraordinaire, to show you a little bit about, I don't know, maybe like behind the scenes secret stuff.
Yeah, just about the process of recording an individual tank and like how we go out and capture the sound and put it together. Yeah, it'll speak for itself, I think.
All right, so I guess we're gonna play the video, and after that we'll come back and we will be answering questions that we gather from the forums, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as Reddit. And we'll take questions from our viewers right now, so stick around after the video.
Hey tankers, I'm Brendan Blewett, audio director here at Wargaming Chicago. Today, I'm going to give you some insight as to how we put the sound effects together for a tank in World of Tanks on consoles. First, we needed to get our hands on some running tanks. Here at Wargaming, we're committed to the preservation of historical tanks, so we've had the honor and pleasure of working with some great vehicle museums all around the world to record the real thing. Stalin's Line just outside of Minsk, Belarus, the Military Vehicle Technology Foundation in Mountain View, California, and the Royal Canadian Armoured Corps Museum in Ontario, Canada, just to name a few. In version 4.5, we expanded the variety of tank engine sound effects to include a wider variety of gas and diesel engines, all recorded from running historical tanks. The first tank I ever rode in and recorded is still my personal favorite, the AK-47 of tanks, the T-54-55. The T-54-55 is a Soviet Tier 9 medium tank. In real life, upwards of 100,000 of these beasts were built, and they went on to become the main battle tank for the Soviet Army during the Cold War. It was the most produced tank in history, and some are still in military service right now. These tanks weren't powered by a simple truck or tractor engine. Building on the success of the power plant from the T-34, the Soviets built another variant of the V-series engine, the V-55. This engine had impressive specs, like V12 configuration, diesel power, 38.88 liter displacement, which is more than 6 times that of a Chevy 350, 500 horsepower all the way up to 800 horsepower on later models, and it all went to the ground through a 5-speed synchro-mesh manual gearbox. These power plants that were purpose-built for tanks were not built for comfort. They were built to do a job. So naturally, a lot of them are insanely loud. And have a pretty aggressive tone to them. We've had the opportunity to record 3 different T-54-55s in 3 different countries, and the recordings are all featured in version 4.5 for tanks equipped with diesel engines in the 300 to 649 horsepower range. In order to assemble a full set of sounds for a vehicle in the game, we have to attach an array of different microphones to the tank at key locations, like the engine, intake, exhaust, gearbox, treads, and inside the cabin. From there, we roll the recorders and have the driver perform a list of maneuvers, like going in a straight line at various speeds, turning at different radiuses, accelerating and decelerating, and the startup and shutdown of the engine. The result is a performance capture of the complete tank inside and out that we can edit into audio cues for use in-game. This allows the player to blend through audio perspectives around the tank and in the tank at runtime with sample accuracy through zoom in and sniper mode. Beyond that, we also record Foley of the exterior and interior equipment on the vehicle to get isolated single-shot bumps and rattles of all the unique ammo crates, racks, fuel tanks, radio equipment, and other gear. The result, when it's all put together, a recreation of what the real-life vehicle sounds like while underway.
Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that video. It is very interesting to see you kind of in the field and recording, and then you come back and transfer everything that you capture into your equipment and then into the game. Do you want to talk a little bit about the process from beginning towards the end? I know it's going to be lengthy, but go ahead.
Sure.
You have the floor.
And it is a lengthy process because obviously there's like multiple stages to the production. We have to plan it out. We can't just show up with microphones and be like, all right, drive the tank. We'll figure it out when we get there. So we have to put together a production plan, a shot list, like a list of all the files we need to get from it. And then we go to the tanks and we have them drive one around for us. The first, we usually pick the cheapest tank to run, like the one that uses the least fuel and has the cheapest parts or most readily available parts. So it doesn't cost us money to do tests. We do like a sound check like you would at a concert. And then, I talked about it in the video about having the driver perform a list of maneuvers, capturing all those files, bringing it here, normalizing everything. I work in Nuendo and Cubase. We take that whole performance and chop it up into hundreds of little sub-files and put that into Wise and have that interact with a lot of different player variables like throttle position, engine RPM, engine load, vehicle speed, track speed differential. Like there's a load of different variables from the game that go into controlling the sound in Wise. And the end result is what you hear in the game right now.
Elmer Rogan just said, I want that job. So is it really, really fun? I mean, it looks
It is super fun. Yeah, I mean, my background is in music recording and live concert production. And I, kind of fell into video games like 15 years ago, 14 years ago. And it's been an awesome experience because you constantly, you kind of invent new technologies with each project. So you have to not just be creative in a sonic sense, but you have to be creative in a non-linear sound design sense. And I love the constant challenge of it. So it is a cool job.
Cool. So like I said before the video, we ask players in the forums on Reddit and on Twitter questions based on all the audio, specifically after update 4.5, because there were a lot of changes. So I'm going to start asking, and after we're done with all of these, we're going to move on to the chat on Facebook, and then we're going to pull questions from our viewers. So this is, I guess, we can combine both of these. Maximo 92, what is the basic process, start to finish, of mass changing sounds? An example would be the engine sound update, the new engine sounds. Some of them sound amazing and some sound a little off. Is it hard to believe that someone is listening to all of them as they're made? And then the other question is from Nanner. Since the update, some tanks sound great or similar to how they did before. Others, like the T110E3, sound like a vacuum cleaner. We got that on the forums a lot. And it's good that we actually showed that video to kind of explain that we're not making these sounds. It's literally coming from a tank. But anyway, so my question is, what makes the tank sound so different? Is it the transmission, the tracks, the engine itself, or maybe some other systems on the tank? Okay,
those are two definitely distinct questions. The first question was about how we mass change sounds in the game. And if I'm interpreting this correctly, it's also how do we decide what tanks get what engine sounds? Because there's definitely more engine packages in the game than we can produce audio content for without making the download size like 300 gigs. So we had to come up with a way to modularize, I guess, for lack of a better word, the tank sounds themselves. So we have the treads and the engines separated from each other. So we have an array of tread sounds that get attached to tanks based on their tread characteristics, and then an array of engine sounds that get assigned to tanks based on their engine characteristics. And we have data on every single tank in the game. So what we did is we just decided, all right, all tanks that have gasoline engines, we came up with a horsepower range, which is from, I don't remember what the lowest one is, 127, 130 horsepower, all the way up into the 1,200, 1,300 horsepower range. And we basically slotted those out and said, all right, we're going to create ranges of horsepowers, and then we're going to record engines that fit those characteristics in real life, and then assign those to those brackets. Prior to this, to 4.5, we had fewer diesel engine sounds represented, than currently, and we ended up expanding that. We tripled the number of diesel engine sound variety, and the gas engines I believe doubled. So yeah, that's how we did it for the large group. And as far as people listening to it, we actually do have QA that works tirelessly, going through every tank in the game, checking everything about it to make sure that it's right. So actually, people do listen to it and make sure that we've worked it out right. Because when we populate the tanks with sounds, it's a procedural process, right? Based on that data.
Well, yeah, no, you also have to cross-check specific movements and make sure that that audio cue kind of, you listen to it as that action is happening.
Exactly.
So.
They test it. It's, QA does a great job of finding that stuff, and it always comes back to me to fix. So.
Brock One, my question is, which tank did you have the most fun recording and mixing? And a follow-up, if you'll permit me, because I limit them to one question per player. Mm-hmm. Which tank gave you the most trouble on the recording and mix? I'm a professional musician and I love the process of recording and perfecting audio. I personally enjoy the new sounds and I look forward to the stream.
Okay.
Aww, thanks, Brock.
Before I answer that one, I'm going to jump back and grab the second part of the first question about what makes them sound the way they do. He said some of them sound like vacuum cleaners.
Yes.
And what makes them sound the way that they do is that the people who design these machines are usually under a pretty huge time and budget constraint because they're needed for a war situation. So when an engineer is tasked with, all right, we need you to make an 800 horsepower engine that can move this 30-ton vehicle, and it needs to be done in like a few months, and we need to make a few thousand of these things, they throw all of the normal design principles of automotive design out the window. Does it need to be comfortable? No. Does it need to get fuel economy? No. Does it need to be quiet? No. It just needs to be powerful and made right now.
Do the job.
Exactly. They're built to do a job. So they come out sounding how they sound because they engineer the heck out of these things to get them done quick and done right. So that's how I've interpreted it from the few dozen tanks that I've gotten to ride around in. Now,
for Broke One, which tank do you have the most fun recording and mixing,
right,
and which tank gave you the most trouble recording and mixing?
Okay, my favorite one that I recorded is probably the T55 because I've gotten to record a few of them, and they definitely have a super distinct sound, the engine that's in that tank, and it's also the first tank that I ever rode in when I was visiting the Minsk studio in Belarus, so it was just kind of a really rich cultural experience to go to Stalin's Line and see a real tank battlefield and then ride around in a period correct tank with actual soldiers. Super cool. So now it's kind of I'm like, every time I see a T-55, I'm like, I know that tank, I've been in a bunch of those. The one that gave us the hardest time, there's two instances actually, recording in Mountain View in California, that we had some trouble. We had a Walker Bulldog that caught on fire because there was a bunch of just tree debris, like twigs and leaves, lodged in the exhaust heat shields. So at a certain point, I glanced over and just saw a ton of smoke coming off of the back. And I ran back there with a fire extinguisher and put it out, and we saw it wasn't the engine that was on fire, it was just these sticks that caught on fire. But that caused one of our mic cables to catch on fire and melt, the rubber shielding all started melting. So that was kind of nuts. And the other one was an M47 that we recorded out there, which is it got a big V12, a normally aspirated gas engine in it. And it kept backfiring whenever we would drive it up a hill. So we worked out that when we were going slightly downhill, it wouldn't backfire. So we ended up recording the whole session by driving the tank downhill and getting our takes, and then driving it back up the hill while it's backfiring, and then doing another take of it going down the hill to make sure that it wasn't, malfunctioning. We figured out it was like a sticky intake valve or something like that. We had the mechanic there with us, but they couldn't work it out.
How much was that microphone that burned?
It was just a cable that time, so it was like a $50 loss. But we've lost other microphones as well. I can talk more about that.
In between questions, Dr. Creamer says he wants to work for you, that he will change or relocate to Chicago just to work with you. Oh my God, his gamer tag, Pukey Ventura, 1803. Hello team, will you guys implement the new ballistic gun sound in the game? Please make my tank destroyers go boom. Thanks and great work with the engines.
Oh, thank you. We worked very hard on the engines for a number of years actually. As far as the ballistic stuff goes, we're working on it right now, actually. We're working on a way to kind of build a really robust modular system that doesn't sound like the same sound every time, and has more layers based on distance attenuation. And right now, working on 3 different consoles kind of presents some challenges because we have to get everything optimized, and working across all the platforms so that the player experience is almost the same or the same on every one. So yeah, we're working on it. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be out, but it will be out in due time.
Valerie Slobodensky, congratulations on the commitment to improve the game and more. Clap, clap, clap. So, players, players,
Sweet.
cool.
Thank you.
Thrash Cabeza, any chance to get the current PC British crew voices?
I'll be honest, it's not likely because we have diverged from the PC game in our voiceover script. We actually have a bunch of voiceover content that they don't have, and there's different actors. So it's plausible that we could find the actor that recorded that stuff and have him do pickup lines to fulfill the full script for the console version of the game. But we've diverged from the PC game in that we all have our separate voiceover systems now. So it's unlikely, but we can look into it for sure.
Demolition Man, not sure if this has been answered in the past, but I know in World of Tanks Blitz, the Girls and Panzer tanks use the crew voices from the anime TV show. Is that something that can be implemented into the console version, or is it more of licensing issues? And thank you for doing these Q&As. Very informative.
Oh, well, thank you. Licensing of voiceover content. If it hasn't, for the Girls and Panzer thing, I was never presented with the opportunity to implement the sound for it, so I'm going to definitely say that that's a licensing deal, because obviously the creative team, creates a mandate, and then it gets filtered through legal to make sure whether or not we can do it. And if they say no, then it doesn't get produced. We did do the Valkyria Chronicles stuff with Sony. That was worked out, but I'm not sure what the Girls and Panzer situation is. So I can look into it for you.
Thank you. I tend to scratch things. Mashman90, now we have engine sounds. Any plans to do gun sounds, and when can we expect them? My favorite is the Scottish part, but the map that loads before it hits the best bit. I don't know what that means, but...
Maybe about the music?
My favorite is the Scottish part. I think that is
okay.
The bagpipes. Yeah,
okay.
The ones that we were talking about.
Yeah, I mentioned before, we're working on ballistics right now. We're expanding the system to have way more granularity and include a lot more information, I guess, in the sound effects. With impacts on tanks, impacts on terrain, and gun reports themselves.
You kind of answered this one. YCS 186. Can we get Australian crew voices over? I'd much rather use those for my English-speaking crews than the US or the UK options. We do have a lot of Aussies who've asked if we could do like
Australian.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm into the idea. I think Australia is an awesome country, and I would love to do Australian voiceover. So we should definitely look into doing that.
Yeah, I usually bring my notepad so I can write ICLVs and get the gears going. And another one for Broke One, and sorry, I allowed him to ask more than one because literally not a lot of people ask questions, which I was confused. I thought you guys were going to, but you kind of answered the first one. Did you break any equipment while recording? And the second one, are there any plans to research and record even more sounds for future updates? Okay,
so yeah, equipment. We have broken, I think, about 3 B&H microphone clamps, which cost like $70 a pop. So that sucks, but it's not the end of the world. We burned a microphone cable with the Walker Bulldog that caught on fire, and we lost a Sennheiser 421 on the last day of recording in Ontario, recording that little troop carrier thing, the universal carrier. So we recorded like a Leopard that day, a BMP, like all these huge main battle tanks, an M60, like huge tanks. Nothing broke. At the end of the day, we're driving around in the little clown tank. And,
is that the one in the beginning of the video?
Yeah, exactly. We're driving around a little clown tank. We go over a bump, and the exhaust mic broke off of its clip and then got dragged behind the thing through the mud. And we got it back in, and I should have brought it in here to show it off because it still works, but it's just smashed to hell and scraped up, and there's a bunch of mud packed into it.
It shows the quality of that equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Kudos to the Sennheiser engineers for building such a strong microphone.
Tank approved.
Yeah, exactly. Tank proof, yeah.
Squeeze M3, or I guess it would say squeeze me. Can you see in the future having audio cues when changing ammo type? By that I mean a signature tone for the specific round, or simply the crew making a statement that they're loading, or something else.
Yes. That's actually something that kind of gets covered under that ballistics thing. Ammo type is a major, I'm not going to make any reveals right now about the scope of the system, but ammo type is going to be a major factor in the new sound effects for the ballistic system. So yes, you can look forward to that.
You know, I'm looking at this question, but I don't think it even pertains to audio, so I am going to skip it.
That was a HUD question, yeah.
Yes. So there we go. Miru, who also has a red panda as his form profile. Pretty cool. First, thank you for the great engine sounds. I really love them. Now to my question. Can we get in the battle music or other games than war stories? I'm reading this poorly. Can we get in battle music in other games than war stories? There you go. Is it the only thing I missed from my PC days? And it will be great to have randomly injected music in multiplayer battles. Obviously with the setting to turn it on and off for players who don't want that. You know, we got a lot of comments not only about this, but the music that was added. I have like about 30 messages from players asking for the soundtrack of the music that was added. They seem to kind of embrace that new change. Others are like, I miss the other tracks, which they're available for you to listen to.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the new soundtrack and the new music, what can you share about that?
Okay, so first part of the question, battle music. Yes, definitely putting battle music in with the ability to turn it on and off in 4.6. So yes.
Confirming
no
things on stream. This is the best day ever. Because then we sometimes have to say, you have to wait until we give you more information. But thank you, Brendan.
Yeah, that's literally being worked on right now. And yeah, it's tested and functioning, and we're basically in the last part right now, which is enabling you to turn it on and off. But it works when it's on and it works when it's off right now. So what was the other part of that question?
The soundtrack.
Soundtrack. Okay, so we have a kind of interesting hybrid situation going on with the soundtrack in that all of the Mercenaries unique content and war story stuff was composed by Enon Zur, and working with him was fantastic because we got to really like dig in and make unique music cues that function in like an adaptive way for the war stories missions. The rest of the new music is straight lifted from the World of Tanks PC game. The Minsk team composed the score. They're absolute ninjas over there. They composed the score, they prototyped it there, and then they ended up having the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra record the whole thing. So it's just absolutely beautiful from a production standpoint, from a composition standpoint. I think it turned out amazing. We're talking right now about releasing an official World of Tanks console score, and the PC score, as far as I know, is either currently available or will be available soon. So if you want to know more about that score, you can go to the World of Tanks PC website and look into what documentation they have up there.
Cool.
Yeah.
I myself collect video game soundtracks, so when we got it, I was like, yeah, glued to the TV. It sounds pretty amazing. And there's some images about the recording online too, so if you want to take a look at it, it's pretty fantastic. Hot Potato. Hey, Rai and Audio Man. You. I've asked this before, but never received an answer. Would it be possible for those of us who suffer from, can you help me?
Oh, tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus, thank you. To get a filter for sounds like that, like the really high-pitched squeaky windmill, eliminate or remove it from the game, it's really unfortunate that unless I want to experience an onrush of jet engine whooshing and raining in my ear, I have to mute the volume until it's blast off. You know, this is not just the one. I received a couple of messages from players who are actually, you know, they're hearing impaired or they have some sort of enhancer or, you know, optimizer on their ear. Anything you might want to share with them?
Well, that presents kind of a tough challenge. It would be possible, I suppose, to create some sort of low-pass filter that would be user-controlled. If it's specific frequencies that bother a specific listener, it's kind of hard to make a system that covers all of that without just eliminating all the frequencies. but I definitely understand how bad tinnitus can be, having come from the rock and roll world. I know a lot of old timers that have just blasted their ears out, and that's all they hear now is just ringing all the time. I mean, they can still hear you, but it's just to them there's just a ring, and I know that must be tough to live with. So sorry to hear about that, but I can do some research into what it would take to kind of mitigate that sort of trigger. But at least in the meantime, you have the ability to destroy the windmill and make it stop squeaking as a stopgap measure.
Oh, yeah, that. Now we are going to start taking questions from our viewers. And Aljetko Martinovic, he is asking if there's going to be damaged module sounds.
That's another thing that we're working on right now, actually. There's currently unique sounds in for a number of the modules, but there definitely could be more information packed into those sound effects. So that's something we're definitely, it's in the queue of to-do things right now, just to expand on all that. And I'd also like to add that the game is we're perpetually trying to improve things, because when we first released it, all had to fit on the 360, and now with the new consoles, we're just kind of repopulating the entire thing constantly with new content, because we can just, we've got more memory, we've got more hard drive space, and as the new generation of consoles come out, we're going to have to add even more content. So it's an ongoing process, and we are definitely going to be beefing up the module sounds.
Elmer Rogan, I think he's asking from something that you said. Will the battle music be country specific?
It's map specific.
Map specific.
Yes. So each map is defined as some sort of region, but
specific.
the cues are all per map.
Michael Smith, are you putting any more background sounds in game, like the wolf howling on Tundra? That's pretty cool. What happened to Nugget? Nugget's still there. Nugget's still there.
Nugget, the chicken, is still there. We're working on ambient stuff on an ongoing basis right now, but we haven't gone out and recorded nature ambience in a little while, and I really like doing that. So once we get through this, the explosion stuff and the ballistic stuff that we've been working on, I would really like to go do a field recording session and expand all of the natural sounds of the game too, because I think that stuff goes a long way towards building context. I mean, the tanks are always there, always making sound. There's always explosions, but each map is different. So it's always awesome to populate it with more sounds. And if you know of any reliable places to record wolves, let me know, because I'm totally into that.
I mean, how appropriate. J. Scott Combe, he's watching but can't listen because he's playing tanks. Okay, well, thank you for kind of joining us. So anytime we have a developer join us on stream, we give away tanks, not premium time. So now that you're here, which one is your favorite premium tank?
Oh, my favorite premium tank?
Yes.
Well, I mean, do I have to pick one? I mean, the first
give
one that I
me
ever
a couple,
got,
and then.
I mean, obviously, it's like the first ones that I ever got are like the most memorable, like the Locust and the Tog, and it's like, the Locust is the fastest tank in the game, as far as I know. I mean, unless something changed.
Yeah,
it's pretty fast.
It's debated between the Krabs Panther and the T-52 was at some point, but now it's kind of like,
there was like one really memorable match where I ended up being the last man standing on my team, and I was in a Locust, and there was like 6 medium tanks on the other team, and I ended up capping their base before they could get back to me, and they were just trying to long ball me the whole time, and I was just driving around in circles in their base, and nobody could hit me, and I wore down the timer and ended up capping the base that way. So it has to be Locust, I guess.
Locust?
Yeah.
Okay, then I guess we're going to give out a Locust. I'm sure you guys are excited about that. Well, we'll give away 3. How about that?
Fair enough.
So what do players have to type in chat in order to win it? We usually say type in your favorite tank destroyer, or sometimes we can ask them to type Brendan's beer is awesome. I don't know.
I think that the first person to type RoboCop's 3 prime directives.
Oh my God, I know those, but I can't say it. Well, the first person, or we're gonna pick a random.
Okay, a random person.
Random person. So type in chat, according to Brendan, the RoboCop's 3 directives.
3 prime directives. RoboCop 1, the original RoboCop from the 80s. Not RoboCop 2, because that's when his prime directives get all screwed up.
Yeah.
RoboCop 1, prime directives.
What did he say to the kids? Thank you for not smoking, or something. He was in school.
RoboCop 2.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, we're gonna wait for players to type in their answers, but they said that, well, they started posting the name of their favorite tank. There we go. We're starting to see something. So again, we're going to pick three random winners for the Locust. What is your second? You said Locust and Tog, and then what would be your third?
Oh, man. Can I pass on that one? I can't pick. You're asking me to pick a favorite kid. It's like, what's your favorite guitar? Maybe Les Paul.
There
but, I mean, if I was in a country band, I wouldn't want to play Les Paul. I'd want to play a Strat, you know, or maybe even a Telly.
Daniel McGibbon, he said Robocop is a good film. It is indeed. It is one of the best films ever. Are there any places that you would want to visit that you haven't to record tanks?
Asia.
Asia?
Yeah.
Really?
Asia. I haven't been to Asia yet, and their tanks over there are different. They made them over there, right? So we've only recorded European and American tanks. So yeah, I want to get into some of that weird stuff.
They're posting the answers. Well, we do have, well, I wouldn't say that we have some sort of collaboration with the Bovington Museum, but they only have so many few tanks running. Well, they have Tank Fest and all. You've never attended Tank Fest, have you?
I've not been to Tank Fest yet, and we've tried to coordinate a couple times, but usually things are just so busy that it ends up not materializing.
Yeah, but the time when Tank Fest happened, we were releasing 4.5.
Right,
so.
Yeah, we're busy making the tank game. So, you know, we talked about trying to coordinate with them where we can get out there like a week beforehand so that like all the vehicles are up and running and lubed up and ready to go. So like we could maybe do some recording stuff with them while they're setting them up and testing them. That way we're not like kind of, you know, using up too many of their resources, but maybe in the future.
Which was the very first tank that you actually got in and started recording?
That was a T-55 in Belarus. Yeah.
Belarus. What do you think about the inside of it? I got the opportunity to go into a couple tanks from, what is the place in Minnesota, Kasota? Drive a tank. And going in there, I mean, I'm a small person. I was still feeling very, very cramped.
Yeah, I definitely don't fit in a lot of them. They definitely didn't make them for people over 6 feet tall.
Okay, so we got word from Architect Extraordinaire that people are just literally typing Robocop's 3 prime directives.
Oh, come on, guys, you have to do work. You have to do some work.
Yes, so
nothing's free in life.
Only the person that type like all 3 prime directives.
Type that into Google. Come on.
Oh my God. You guys are just unbelievable. Anyway, while that happens, I wanted to ask you a favor. So I did a contest online called Oh Yeah, based on Kool-Aid Man. And all the players had to do is take an image in-game capturing destruction made by a tank. So kind of like Kool-Aid Man, how he comes in, destroys things, and then leaves for the parents to clean up the mess. So 3 winners are going to walk out with a Vindicator Charioteer, and 5 others are going to win 7 days of premium. So right now, we're just going to pull the names of the 5 for 7 days of premium, and you're going to do the honors.
Okay.
Pull one right now.
Okay.
What does it say?
The Monster.
The Monster 17 wins 7 days of premium. I'm going to put a P for premium. Next.
All right. Oh, man, these things are slippery.
What does it say? Oh, D2ACXX Magic. 7 days of premium. 3 more. 3 more, Brendan. You can do this.
I got this.
You got this. I should have brought a bigger container.
YCS-186.
Yay! Congratulations, 7 days of premium. Cool.
All right.
I try to do these live so players don't think that I'm cheating or picking favorites. This is all about luck.
Youngest bike, 679.
Ooh, there we go. 7 days of premium. And then last player to win 7 days of premium is...
X Anna Today X.
Congratulations.
I believe.
Yeah, some of these gamer tags.
Yeah, it's tough to pronounce because it's not a word.
I mean, I have an accent and then you add a crazy gamer tag to the mix. It's just not good for me. All right, now the 3 winners for the Vindicator. Winner number 1.
Junior Del Gebby, 17.
Cool. Gets a tank. Ba-bum. Second winner.
give picks with 2 X's.
Oh, these tankers. There's been times when they send me questions and the gamer tag is so inappropriate. I just say inappropriate gamer tag.
Ed Nocturne 82.
There we go. Congratulations, guys. I will be crediting your tanks after the stream and posting the winners on the forums. Do we have the names of the 3 winners for the Locust? Oh, Architect Extraordinaire is still gathering information. Bum, 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 bum. Is there one tank that you would want to record desperately? Like the one you dream of traveling to see? Maybe not in Asia, like you say you wanted to go to Asia.
I mean, obviously, like recording the mouse would be awesome because there's only one of them in the world.
Where is it exactly?
I don't know where it's been moved around Europe, but I know Wargaming contributed to its restoration. I don't know if it runs either. I'd have to look it up, but obviously, like if there's only one of something, I want to capture it because that's what Edison. That was the whole point of recording, was to preserve things. The whole idea behind the original like recording machine was that you could record your voice so that people could still listen to you after you're dead. And how awesome is that? It's a record. We're going to create a permanent record of it. That's cool.
Of the one surviving. Well, isn't it the same with the Tiger 133? There's 1 or 2, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that is a really good point, preserving the tank, not just the vehicle itself, but also the audio.
Yeah, because it won't be around forever, I mean, at some point, maybe, who knows, maybe they will be around forever, but...
I don't know if this is the location of it, but Mateos Gibinka, he said Kubinka in Russia. I don't know if he's talking about his location or the location. Yeah, there you go. The mouse is in Kublinka and it doesn't run.
Okay, well... Thank
you, David, for...
I wish they could get it running. I don't know if the engine was ever completed for it. I know that they made 2 prototypes and neither of them ever saw the light of day, but...
Let's see. Keith says that the mouse is too big and it probably sounds awful.
Yeah, it probably sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, well, there we go. Yeah, everyone's sharing about the Moscow Museum in Kubinka.
Awesome.
If I'm pronouncing it right. Well, that's pretty interesting. I'm dying to go and travel to see a KV-1. That's the one that I want to see. I know there were a couple restored, and most of them don't even have like original parts because they were just ripped apart. That would be something interesting to see.
The KV-85 is the giant, it's the high horsepower diesel sound in 4.5, which is, it's on the same platform or whatever. It's a KV platform. So similar engine, same engine. These huge, big, naturally aspirated V12 diesels.
How many audio files do you have in your computer overall?
I don't even want to know. I have so many audio files that they don't fit on my computer. We have a server with all the recordings on them and then all of the stuff for the library too. It's many, many, many gigs.
Really?
So, yeah.
I would like to go and see through
many
everything.
Terabytes, rather, I would even say. We have to keep bothering IT for more server space because of how much sound we keep adding.
What are some of the items in game that players wouldn't even think that they have a sound?
Oh man, like I don't know if anybody noticed that the bridges creak when you drive over them, like wooden bridges in a large number of the maps. Like as soon as you put a load on it, you can hear the stress of the wood settling. So that's something, I don't know if anybody notices that stuff, but I put it in there anyways. So.
What other stuff aside from the bridge? I'm curious because I mean, audio is a huge part of the game. I mean, it brings the atmosphere to not just visually, but it makes you feel like it's happening.
Right. I mean, well, we try to populate each map with like area-specific stuff. So like if you're in the forest, you hear trees blowing around. If you're in a town, you hear dogs barking. There's wind gusts that you can hear affect the environment. Like there's a number of different like damaged wooden structures where if the wind blows, you'll hear the wind blow, and then you hear the structure kind of groan under the load of the wind. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that little stuff, like little windmills and frogs and whatever else we can add something to,
Do the bunnies have audio?
I've never been able to get close enough to a rabbit to record it. So, and even if I could, I don't know if it would be loud enough to like register on the preamp.
Jack Hersa, I love the rooster sound. That's Nugget.
That's right.
Do you want to tell them the story about Nugget? You mentioned it before, but we have a lot of new players.
Yeah, well, so the chickens that you hear in the game in the distance were, I was out field recording in Seattle with a colleague, and he had chickens on his property. And I was, it was up in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, so there was like a lot of nature ambience and streams and stuff like that I was recording. And I was trying to get this sound of a stream recorded, and his chickens just started like screaming in the background. Like no matter how far away from I was getting, it would still show up in the recording. So they refused to shut up, so I decided to just go and directly record the chicken. I'm like, as long as this chicken's making sound, I might as well catch it. I don't know how I'm going to use it, but right, I want to get a good chicken sound because this thing just won't shut up. So I got like 2 or 3 feet from the chicken with a shotgun mic and just pointed it right in his face, and he just was blasting these chicken screams like right into the mic. So I ended up getting these like super crystal clear, isolated chicken recordings when I had set out to get recordings of streams and rivers. And I brought that back and totally put it into the game. I'm like, every farm should have chickens. And I went through the whole game and found anything that looked like a farm and just put distant chickens in there. So go to the farm, sit there for a minute, you'll hear some chickens screaming in the background.
I remember, it was like about a year ago or something in Abbey, there was a bug where the chicken audio would not
It wouldn't stop. It was just screaming chickens constantly in the background.
Just go in the forums like, I can't, keep up with that chicken. I hate that chicken. Sorry, Nugget. I guess we have the winners. You want to do the honors since we're giving away a Locust. Is Brendan's favorite tank. Definitely left an impression on you. So we have the 3 winners, and the winners are?
All right, Morgan Thornton.
Congratulations.
Nate Trombley. And Eddie Spiva.
Ooh, congratulations, guys. Don't forget that after the stream, please send me a message on World Tanks Console Facebook and send me your gamer tag, and I'm going to credit the tank directly to your account. That's pretty cool. If you guys don't have any more questions, we are almost close to or towards the end of the show. So please, 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 any thoughts that you want to share with the players before we sign out, or any feedback? If players would like to suggest something that they would like to have added in games, specifically for audio, what do they have to do?
Well, obviously try to be active and keep in touch with us in the forums and on Reddit. We always like hearing feedback. I'm doing my best to try to meet everybody's expectations while maintaining historical accuracy. We could have just as easily gone and recorded a bunch of Ford Broncos and bulldozers and put those into the game, but when you hear a real tank in real life, like the concert of sound, there's so much detail to the sound of a tank driving, it kind of made it clear that we had to do the real thing, right? So hopefully everybody digs it, and keep playing the game and keep giving us feedback, and we're going to keep trying to improve the game every milestone. After the coming update with all the extra gun sounds or everything that you want to implement, we'll hopefully try to bring you back in. Players love having you, and they also love your beard. We get a lot of comments for that. They want to know how you take care of it, if it has a name, if you consult with it. Players, you guys are just beyond creative. I can answer beard questions for a minute here. If you have beard questions, please post them on chat. Let's see. I love the sounds of the mats. Congratulations. This comes from Spenderly. William F. Toon, he says, thank you. Nate Tumbley, he says, thank you. World of Tanks. And let's see. I had a quick question about audio. Why do the Russian tanks sound like the audio is off? I mean, it's interesting, don't get me wrong, but I'm sure that the question probably got addressed earlier. Yeah, sorry, it did. So we're gonna post the stream in YouTube, and it's also available on Facebook after it ends, so. Oh, there we go, beard question. Steve Kuhn, have you ever lost anything in your beard? I don't know if I've lost anything, but I've definitely found things in it. Tim Rottenberg, does it itch? No, it doesn't. That's like, if you're trying to grow a beard, like the first, it's like a few weeks in, it starts to itch, but I'm like many years, and I'm a decade into this, so like, there's no itch. Henry Andrade, what oil do you use to leather up that bad boy? I use argan oil, usually mostly in the winter because it's super dry in Chicago in the winter. You answer Steve Kuhn's answer. You answer Steve Kuhn's question. He's like, dude! He's like so excited. This is not a beer-related question, but Jack Kim wants to know where he can find the chicken. In what maps?
Well, Abby,
It's definitely in Abbey, and man, it's any really of the like rural farm country European maps. I could definitely make a list that we could post if everybody wants to know every map that the chickens are in. I could find that out in just a few minutes for you, actually.
Hey, we can certainly post, you know, per player's request, the locations where you can find the chicken. Justin Singh, he says he wants us to continue the stream. Seem Kuhn, he says there's chickens in the beard. Oh, you guys
there
are...
might be some chicken wing remnants in there, but
okay,
no whole chickens.
Anyway, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for your audio and beer and chicken questions. I mean, these streams never get dull, and they just keep getting better and better. Thank you, Brendan,
Awesome.
for coming over and answering our players' questions. Next week, let's see. Oh, next week we have another special surprise, so I can't really say anything. Otherwise, it won't be a surprise. Don't forget the Cruncher contract for Mercenaries is available, so make sure you go ahead and hop on it. There's plenty of time for it. I know a couple other contracts ended, so now we have another tank available added to the mix. And the Slayer is available for purchase, so check out the dates on World Tanks Console. My name is Rybot01, Community Manager for World Tanks Console, and we will see you next week. Facebook, Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Time. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you.